Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up to my new podcast. Today, I am truly honored to have another business associate from the Great Discovery. Her name is Alyson Williams, and she does have a couple of courses on the Great Discovery. I believe she has a couple of paid ones and a couple of free ones. We want to learn about her free courses that she has on the Great Discovery. I want to also learn why she chose the Great Discovery as her platform of choice and what makes Alyson Alyson. So, Alyson, please share with us where you live, what you do, how you got started on this, and to become an empowerment and self-love coach.
Cool. Well, thank you, Leigh. Thank you for the opportunity and the invitation to be on your podcast. I feel truly honored. I live in Canberra, the capital of Australia. It's a bit chilly now because we're in winter, the opposite of the Northern Hemisphere. And Canberra is about 3 hours drive south of Sydney and about 8 hours drive north of Melbourne. So those are the two capital main sort of cities that I'm in between, which is very convenient. I've been here 30 years and I took up coaching a few years ago as an empowerment and self-love alchemist because I truly believe that self-love is the key to all our success in life, because how we feel about ourselves is how we show up. When you feel good about yourself, you make good decisions and you live an empowered life. And that's pretty much my focus for my business.
So when did you get started? I think you said just, like a couple years ago. Do you have like a number, or are you like me? I started something, but I don't remember when.
I do have a vague recollection. So I started my coaching about, I think 6 years ago. There I go back.
Cool.
Yeah, but then and that was just sort of starting the coaching because I was doing my own personal development. And then I've really gone into the business full time, probably in the last 2 years since I've retired.
So I see a couple of things in your background. Of course, we kind of briefly touched on the Great Discovery. I think there's something right below the Great Discovery in colors. I can't quite read what it says. Is that
That's
part of the disc?
No, DISC is on the left-hand side with the DISC. Mm-hmm. That's the emotional fitness formula program that I'm certified in. And that's about dealing with life's uncertainties.
Cool. And then your business is called Power Your Life Coaching.
It is.
Okay, just making sure I kind of got them all correctly. Crossed my T and dotted my I.
But beautiful.
So what is the name of the free course that you have on the Great Discovery?
Well, my free course is about values and boundaries. I've got a basic course on values, but it's not as good as the values and boundaries. I feel people don't understand the importance of values and they don't know how to keep boundaries. So my whole focus was to do a course that actually showed what values are, why we need them, what boundaries are, how to connect them, and the importance of the connection.
Can you give us an example of somebody who really should take the course but doesn't know they need to take the course, right?
Yeah, totally. So if you're someone who finds that someone who's a people pleaser, for example, they feel that everybody is sort of encroaching on their time and they feel that, nobody listens to them. Well, if you kind of stop and say, why is that happening? Get in touch with what your values are. And then from your values, you can create boundaries. Now, people pleasers generally are people who love connection. They want to help their family or their friends, whatever. So one of their values might be relationships. But when you're connecting your boundaries to your relationships, you need to say, what do I need to do to make my relationships good for the people and good for me? Mm-hmm. And then you say, when I'm saying no, and there are different types of boundaries, time is one of them. When I'm saying no, sorry, I can't do this because I don't have the time, I'm not actually being mean to you. I'm actually keeping to my boundary. And the interesting thing about boundaries is no doesn't mean no forever. No might mean not now, maybe next week or when I'm ready. Because my daughter used to be great. She'd call me just when I started a Zoom, especially if I was recording, right? And I said to her, Katie, you cannot do that. You need to check whether I'm available. So that was me saying, I'm here for you. If it's an emergency, I will stop everything. But if you're just sort of chatting and wanting to sort of share your day, we can do that later on. So that's me living up to my boundaries, but also keeping my values. My values to be there for my daughter, but my values also to be the relationship with myself. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it truly does, because I think many of us allow people that are really close to us to step all around us, or step on us. And I think sometimes the person, because I kind of suffer with what you're kind of explaining, where somebody's going to ask me to do something, and because of the person who's asking me, I let them overstep the boundaries, even if I have to rearrange my day, if it's rearrangeable. If it's not, then it's, how does your course also, because, obviously we feel kind of bad, or not, I don't know if bad is really the right word to use, but I think you get the idea that, we don't feel good about telling the person, no, we can't do it. So does your course cover how does the person kind of maneuver so that they still feel good about saying, I can't do this right now, but I can do it at this time?
I believe it does in terms of putting the foundations for for what exactly a value is and how we create our values, and then what a boundary is and how we create the boundaries and how we connect the two. And I do talk about the types of boundaries as well. So we've talked about time being one, money is another one. So those are the when we know what our boundaries are and why we are saying yes or no, then we feel less bad. We're able to say, no, this doesn't work for me. Doesn't mean I don't love you. Doesn't mean I don't want to help you. It just doesn't work for me now. Or maybe it doesn't work for me at all because it's against my value system, right? So apparently my father-in-law, whom I never met, he used to be someone that if you wanted to borrow $5, if you wanted him to give you $5, he'd give you $5. No worries, was a gift. But if you wanted to borrow 5 cents, he expected it back because the principle was you borrowed it. Right? So when your values are very much, keep your word kind of stuff, you said borrow versus gift, then you kind of don't feel bad. It's only 5 cents. Why am I making a big deal? Right? So that's a very kind of simplistic example. But when you know why you're saying what you're saying and where it's coming from, you feel aligned with who you really are, your true self.
So do you, in your values course, do you teach people about the words that they're saying and the impact it could have on the person that's receiving the words?
No, I haven't, to be honest. I do have a communication course that I'm going to be uploading soon, which will tell you about all the aspects of communication, like how much is words, how much is volume, how much is body language, including the language that we use, because the words are important and the tone is important as well, right? Because you can say the same words in a really harsh tone. You can say, I love you, or I really hate you, and the tone gives you a completely different feeling, right? I've actually practiced that with my daughter's dog, which is kind of quite funny. So yeah, the words can be important, but it's also how we say it that's important. But when it comes to values and boundaries, which I haven't actually put in my course because I only came across this afterwards, because I'm always learning and developing, is my question is, how will I feel? Will I respect myself if I do this? And will I respect myself if I don't do it? And depending on what the answer is, I will determine what my course of action will be.
I guess that's a really good question to use.
Yeah, thank you. And I got that from a colleague and a friend. And that is, I think, in a way, really not so much changed my life, but changed my perspective of how I now make my decisions.
And so maybe you repeat that question. So, hey, guys, pay attention, because I think this question might be a game changer for us on when we want to participate or not participate in something that somebody is asking us.
Totally. So it's, will I respect myself more if I do this? Will I respect myself more if I don't do this? So if I can give you an example, there's someone that I have like a business connection with, right? And the other day, my values are respect and integrity. And the other day, she went off on a holiday and she didn't actually tell me how long she'd be away for. And we had to plan our next session because we had clients. She didn't get back to me, and I thought, I'm not going to sort of reach out to her, and I'm not going to sort of do it without her, because two things, integrity means I've got to, or respect, I've got to sort of, she's got to be part of it as well because we do it together. But then I thought, she hasn't respected me by not communicating with me, right? So I sat there and I thought, will I sort of sit here and break my boundaries? If you don't ask, you don't get? Or will I have to break my value of not doing it for our clients? And then my integrity is out of whack. So I decided I'm happy breaking my boundary because I really care about my business partner rather than break my value.
Mm-hmm.
So that really helped me. Well, will I respect myself more if I do it, like if I create the program without her, or I respect myself more if I don't do it, and then we end up with nothing for our clients?
Yeah, that question is truly a valuable question. Will I respect myself if I do it? Will I respect myself if I don't do it? And, what happens? Do you sometimes get a gray area where, they're saying, kind of damn if I do, damn if I don't?
And that's why the anchor for this is actually values and boundaries, because it's, for me, it's easier to break a boundary than it is to break a value, because my values are my true north. My values are my decision-making filter and my emotional compass. When I break a value, I feel really bad about myself. But if I breach a boundary, I go, okay, I'm breaching the boundary in this situation. I'm not breaching the boundary everywhere. Whereas the values will be, for the values are my foundation. So if I break my values, I kind of break who I am.
True insight. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking.
Well, we're almost at the end of our little discussion because I like to keep it short and sweet so everybody will stay tuned to the end instead of like dropping off, getting tired. Yeah. So do you have any last words that you'd like to share with us before we close out?
But really, it is so vital to know what your values are and from there to create your boundaries. Because as we've said before, when you feel bad about something and you don't know why, if you stop and think, it's probably because someone has breached your value. But if you don't know what your values are, you don't know why you're feeling like that. So firstly, get in touch with your values. And if you do my course, I have what I call a values menu. It's not exhaustive. You can add to it, but work out your top maybe 5 values and from there create your boundaries.
Awesome. Well, Alison, mahalo nui loa for showing up today and taking time from your busy schedule to have this little chit chat with me about your course and why values and boundaries need to be succinct together, and why each one is important and why each one cannot be forgotten. But however, giving us an understanding that sometimes we do need to break certain boundaries for the moment.
Yeah.
But breaking our value system can make it pretty bad because then we just won't feel right. Right. So thank you so much for being here. My and pleasure. Mahalo plenty. And you have an awesome, awesome year.
Thank you, Leigh. Same to you. And thank you again for the opportunity. So privileged.